Hello, beautiful angels. Welcome to Heartspace Atelier. My name is Henry. Thank you so much for being here. I welcome you. If you're new here, Heartspace Atelier, my podcast, is a space where we find out what we want in life, where we discover our deeper inner wells of truth, love, and creativity, and how the fuck to reconnect with that deeper well. Because I feel like in this day and age, it's been getting harder and harder. So I want this to serve as a space where it gets easier and easier. Every Thursday, 4 p.m. Berlin time. We come together and we have a good time. And we find out how we can make it easier for us to just live more authentically and in alignment and in this deeper, juicy well of creativity and love we all have. So, anyway, welcome. So, this episode today, honestly, it has been lingering within my mind for a while now. For the past 3 days, I would say. Usually around like Tuesday or Wednesday, I film my episode, so it can get up on Thursday. And usually it's kind of like very spare of the moment. I just sit down and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. And then boom, I go. This time, however, I have been feeling this need to talk about this certain thing because I have been moving through this exact thing. And let me just be completely real. This is going to be more of a story time, like just sitting down type of vibe. And I'm going to share with you how I've been feeling. And I've been going through the motions of life. And I feel like there's some kind of philosophy which I'm meant to share with you guys through me going through all of this craziness. Basically, the past 2 months have just led me to this point, and the plot keeps thickening. The plot keeps thickening, and I'm like, oh my goodness. By the way, there's some birds that keep flying outside on my window, and it's just like the shadows keep coming in. There's a lot of movement, so don't mind that. And I'm also going to try and just not edit this episode too much. I'm just going to share with what's on my heart. So grab yourself a tea or coffee and just dive in with me. So, we're talking today about loneliness and being alone and what the difference is. Because when you're alone, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are lonely. However, a lot of the times it will feel like that. And this is something I have been feeling my whole life. I feel like the greatest moments, the greatest shifts I have done myself, but also the biggest challenges I went through myself. And I have created this trust within myself that I value so much, but sometimes certain time periods in my life just come by and I'm like, there he is again. You know, like there he is again. He has to go through everything again. Little Henry is quaking. Teenage Henry's quaking. Adult Henry's quaking. There he goes again. We need to somehow fight this challenge all alone again. Because for some reason, and maybe some of you will relate to this, but for some reason, when the most life-altering challenges come my way, I have a feeling, especially the past 2 months, I just have a feeling that the universe wants me to go through them alone. Let me tell you a little story time. So, beginning of this year, in January, I went to Scotland to visit my friend. It was a beautiful 2 weeks, had the best time. The best time was super healing, felt super like a social butterfly, and I was so like in my creativity, and it was such a healing time. Shout out to Mandy if you're seeing this. And it was so just always healing. It's always healing when I come to Scotland, especially when I visit her. Like, it's so there's like this overflowing fountain of creativity, and I was being recharged by that fountain. And it was just beautiful. The second I came back to Germany, the second I was in the train from the airport back to home, something happened that led me through this very intense emotional spiral. And it is something where I had to stand up for myself. I had to cut somebody off. It was very emotional. It was very, I had so much anxiety. I had so much heaviness laying on my chest. And in that moment, I was getting so emotional because this all happened on the train. I will not go into details. I will do that maybe in 10 years or something. But in that moment, I was on one side super emotional, but on the other, I was like almost laughing because how comedic is the timing? This could have happened any time within the past 2 weeks. I wouldn't have been alone. But I was in the train. It was literally like I was not even an hour back into me being home. And this happened. And I was like, universe, goddess, what on earth is happening? Are you joking? Are you joking? Because there have been numerous times in my life where exactly this happened. Exactly this. Exactly. And also, a couple days ago, exact same thing. Exact same thing. I had a beautiful weekend, social weekend. I come home, the first second I'm alone, something happens. And I'm like, so, as I said, it pains me not to go into details, but this is just so, I can't. I can't share it yet, at least. I will write a book someday. It's gonna become a bestseller. You will see it like New York Times bestseller. Like it's gonna be everywhere. Given the crazy stories I've run through in my life, it's gonna be everywhere, and I'm gonna spill all the tea there. So I'll save it for the book. Okay. But anyway, so something of a similar nature happens. I come home from a beautiful, socially butterfly-filled weekend. I opened my mailbox and a letter awaited me that made me spiral, that made me have a breakdown, and that made me be like, again. So it was painful, I'm not gonna lie, and especially I feel like these situations have happened so much in my life where I'm like, okay, I am really struggling to see the bigger picture here, but I also know what the bigger picture is, and it is this is happening for me to know that I can go through the heaviest shit alone if I have to. I'm saying if I have to because we should never have to go through heavy things alone, because us humans, our souls, we are wired to have community. It is so important for us to have community. But for some reason, I wish I had the answer, but for some reason, God just wanted me to go through certain things alone. And this is something that I would say started the second I got out of kindergarten. I was literally the biggest social butterfly king when I was in kindergarten. Like I was the leader of the group. Okay, like let's just talk about this for a minute, because I think it's pretty interesting how it all led up to this moment of me sitting here. So I was such a social butterfly. Like every single day I would arrive there, like I would have my group of friends and they would all like just be like, Henry, tell us a joke. Henry, oh my gosh, I love your new toy. Like I love your new doll, like your new stuffed animal, whatever. I was the center of attention, always. And I attracted it naturally and effortlessly. I wasn't like pushing other children out the way, being like, ooh, I am, look at me. No. It was just like, I was also very laid back. I wasn't like crazy or loud or anything. I was just naturally the center of attention. I don't know why. Also, I don't know if the microphone is picking up on the construction or the beautiful bird sounds coming from outside. And so I left kindergarten. I went to school. The second I went to school, it went away. The second I went to school, I feel like I had this deeper knowing, because like literally as I was going to school the first day, like I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know how it was going to be like, but I was so pissed. Like I have a picture of me like celebrating my first day of school before going into the school. I looked done. I've never looked that done in my entire life, and I've never looked that done again. I was pissed. And this led me to a very unfulfilling, socially anxious, and heavy school career. This never changed. I never really had friends in school. However, I did make one best friend there, who I am still very, very close with. But I wouldn't really count that as like having a school friend group or something or whatever. Like I never had any groups. I never really had friends at school, you know? And I also switched schools like there was no tomorrow. Like I think I went to like 4 different schools, and my parents didn't even move or anything. Like I had issues, you know? I had issues because I was always overstimulated. I was always super tense, socially anxious, and this social anxiety started unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. More and more by the day, by every day I went to school, it got bigger, and it reached its peak when I was like 14 or something, and I went to this private school for like 9 months. I was at that private school before when I was like in 3rd grade or something, and I switched back again because before that I went to this like school for smarty pants because I'm smart. And it didn't really work for me. There was too much pressure. Like the environment was really bad. So I ended up at this private school, which, come to think of it, was a crazy decision, but also something that in the moment really made me feel like it was destroying me. But looking back on it, it healed me, because I think about this time at that specific school a lot. Like sometimes I just think about it and I'm like, oh my God, wait, I wish I could have enjoyed this time more. I wish I would have been more outgoing back then. I wish I didn't have to deal with the social anxiety that was ruling my life back then, because my class peers were so nice. They were all so, like, they all came from like very rich families, but they were like so in tune with nature, because it was like a natural, like organic almond mom kind of school. And they raised their children so well. Like they were all angels. My classmates were all angels. I loved them all except this one girl who was kind of like a piece of shit, but we were kind of friends anyway. Besides the point. And in that time, my social anxiety reached its peak. Like it was up here, over here. At that time, I was in my emo phase. I had dyed hair. I was the only person at that school with dyed hair, with bleached hair, with like purple, blue hair, whatever. And all of my classmates, like, they all found it very cool. Like, I think they just, like, they never had an issue with it. I was never bullied in my life, which I'm so grateful for. Like, God was protecting me. Because, listen, Listen, I say this with the utmost love, but I am surprised I wasn't bullied. I'm so surprised I wasn't bullied because I was not fitting the norm in any way. And I've heard of so many horror stories in my close circle, in my distant circle, on the internet, everywhere. I still don't know to this day how I didn't get bullied. I really don't know, but I'm so grateful. Thank God. Thank God. I hope you don't take this the wrong way, guys. Like, I'm genuinely wondering because I was so out of the norm. So out of the norm. I had really long hair for a long time. People always confused me for a girl. And like, not really, really, but they were like, you know, sometimes it just get me in trouble. Like, hey, are you a boy or a girl? Or like, shit like that, you know? But it was never like evil spirited. It was never like it made me feel unsafe. Like, I always embraced my true self. This is something that despite all the social anxiety, all whatever, like I always embraced what I wanted to embrace, whether it was pink, purple, blue hair, whether it was like having long hair, wearing different clothes. I mean, obviously I adjusted myself to the quote unquote social norm. Because when I was in kindergarten, like I would wear literally like tutus and like, you know, like crazy outfits or like capes and like just costumes every day. Like I was crazy. And I'm so grateful that my mom just let me do that because it built a very nice foundation for me to just feel safe to embrace my truest being. You know, I'm just so glad that I never was fed into the belief that I would have to dress like always black, gray, white, boring ass outfits. I would have to fake a masculinity within me that I never wanted to connect with in the first place. Like a toxic masculinity, a performative masculinity. I am so grateful that I never did that. I'm so grateful that I was able to do that. Anyway, moving on to the private school story, okay? So the private school was like, my peers were so nice. I really looked up to them. I found all of them very cool. And this was also the first time I fell madly in love with a classmate of mine. And some of you will know how intense a first crush is, especially when you're in puberty, especially when you're in your teenage years. I was head over heels. It was insane. It was insane. So I was head over heels with this one guy. But on the other side, I was so socially anxious. It was crazy. It was crazy. But I do have someone to blame though, because my teachers, they really did not understand what the hell was going on with my hair. They didn't understand what the hell, like, if I wanted attention or not. Because I remember I had this one talk with one of my teachers, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, I know you like attention or something. And I was like, I really don't like attention. Like, I want to dye my hair because I like the color. Does that mean, like, I want you to, like, when I enter the classroom, be like, look, everybody, Henry's got new hair. Like, you know, this is the shit that this teacher would pull off. Not in an evil-spirited way, but she was just, like, really tough, and, like she didn't get it. That's fine, you know? So that was kind of, like, the first time I was telling her, I don't like that. I don't like to be perceived, or, like, I don't like to be in the center of attention. And she was like, oh, because I thought you wanted attention because you dyed your hair. And after that, she kind of took it down a notch, and she didn't really, like, you know, when I entered the classroom, she wouldn't be like, oh my God, Henry has new hair. Shit like this, you know? And so it came to a point at this private school where I just basically couldn't take it anymore, because my social anxiety was growing and growing and growing by the day, to a point where I had to be taken out of public school. And I was homeschooled. for like 2 years to like get my education, blah, blah, blah. I was homeschooled, and that was kind of like the point, I think, where I was like the most lonely. I had zero friends. The only friend I had was my mom, which I'm grateful for. Like, I'm not saying it as a like, oh my God, like the only friend I had was my mom. Like, no, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that we have a good relationship, especially during that time. You know, she made all of it possible. She realized that I really couldn't go to school anymore because it was destroying me. It was literally destroying me. I felt so socially anxious, and so I decided to trade my social anxiety for loneliness. Because that time, insane. I was so lonely, and I wish I could go back in time and hug this past version of myself, because it was so painful. And back then I was still in my hometown. There was nothing going on in general. Like, I come from a smaller village, and it was really like my lowest point, I would say. And then I kind of also, like, simultaneously, I had a lot of internet friends because I was playing this game. It was called Love Life. It was basically like this anime game, and like a rhythm game, like a music game. And I had an Instagram account for that, and I met a lot of people on there. So, like, socially, like on the internet, I was always kind of connecting with people because we shared the same interests, which is also something I think is so important, that you connect with other people through interests, because that truly connects you so much. And that was kind of like the first time I felt that. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is all kind of connecting us. It's so cool. And fast forward to like 2 more years, I didn't do anything. Like, I was, honestly, looking back, I think I was depressed, even though it wasn't like oh my gosh, I am sinking in my depression and sadness. It was more of a like, so much anxiety, so much not knowing what to do, being so unhappy with myself. Like, I was so scared to take up space, and this is something that I still struggle with, and something that really helped me overcome that more is the first job I had. And this is a crazy story, guys. So after those 2 years of just doing nothing, meeting no one, I think in that whole time I met like, I don't know, 4 times or something. Like, I had meetings with friends. Like, I don't fucking know. It was, listen, like, I felt like, I think Taylor Swift sometimes, like, in her documentation at one point mentioned that she was like, didn't meet anyone for 2 years or something. Honey, that's how I felt. It was bad. I was down bad. Okay. So after that time, I actually got a job at my local cafe. And this cafe was like a very social cafe. It was like, you know, people kept on coming in. There were lots of events. I was put in charge to also like manage the events and stuff, and be behind the counter and serve coffee and shit. And that challenged me so much. I remember the first day I went there and the last day I had there, because the first day I was so shy. I was overly smiling, like, you know, the whole time, because I just wanted to appear as the best version of myself that I could be, and be the kindest, most loving person, which is also something that I still struggle with, because sometimes people don't deserve that, but I give them that anyway. So this time really showed me how the fuck to meet new people, and to not be scared of meeting new people, and to build friendships and to basically not be anxious about receiving love, receiving compliments, receiving like good fucking energy from other people. Because in the past, and this is still something I struggle with, I have to say, sometimes I struggle with accepting the love that other people are giving me. Not because I don't want it, but because it's almost like so much love. Sometimes it feels like so much love that I can't carry it. And it makes me kind of nervous. But like in a, like, oh, I'm nervous, I'm blushing kind of way. But it used to be worse. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So that time really rewired my brain. And I was like, oh, okay, so I am capable of meeting people, and I am capable of making friends, and I am capable of pulling myself out of the dirt. And that time was very special to me because simultaneously it was also kind of like a time where I had like my first quote-unquote spiritual awakening, and I was like connecting with crystals, and I was connecting with like, you know, like a manifestation and all of that. It was very special. And obviously, naturally, I'm a lover boy. I can't help it. But I fell in love with my coworker there, and with somebody who at that point I was so convinced was my soulmate, because a tarot reader told me that he was. He was an addict. He was I don't want to say crackhead, but I think I know, you know? So that was questionable. And am I proud of it? Not really. Has it showed me the most valuable lesson in having standards for relationships? Yes. 1010%. 1010%. Oh my gosh. But besides the point, I think I have to do a story time. I have to do a story time about this exact period of my life, because it was crazy. It was crazy. I will talk about this actually, now that I'm talking of it. Anyway, so after that, I went to college for like a year and a half. And then I actually quit and got self-employed. And ever since then, like I had very interesting jobs. And I kind of like pulled myself out of this inability to connect with people. However, to kind of like close the circle on all of this loneliness that I felt when I went to private school, this loneliness I felt through my whole school career, if I'm being honest. This loneliness I felt even as a child, you know, when the world was really heavy and I was forced to be a pawn in a game that was very toxic and narcissistic, you know, like this loneliness that has kind of like been part of my life, my whole life. This year especially, the year of the fire horse, you know, I noticed it just coming back. It's coming, sometimes it's still coming back. And it's always been like this, and it's fine. And it's, you know, something that is also very normal, I would say, for literally everybody to feel lonely once in a while. Like, I'm not saying that this is like abnormal and this is not going to happen or whatever, but I think that if you went through certain challenges in life, you will know what I mean by when I say that this loneliness stems from this really deep wound, and that loneliness can feel sometimes unbearable. And it may have to do with the fact that, yes, were you abandoned as a child, you know, like it's most likely coming from there, but there's so many micro traumas that we go through in life, which I think that we don't realize what that impact is. until years later, because nowadays, honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm having more trouble embracing my true self, embracing the aesthetic that I love, embracing the style that I love. I'm having more trouble doing that with ease than I did when I went to private school. Because if I'm being completely honest, like I still sometimes like I want to dye my hair pink or something. But then I think like, oh my gosh, what if I attract this attention again? Or something like that, some stupid shit like that. Even though like I live in Berlin, like everybody just kind of does their own thing. But it's like, you walk with these micro traumas, you walk with these micro or big insecurities, and I just wish there was like a guidebook for everybody, like a personalized guidebook for everyone in life. But through being granted this time alone to work through my bullshit, I realize more and more and more that I am that guidebook. And so are you. You can go to therapy to discover layers and layers of yourself, which is so helpful. You can journal, you can dance, you can meditate, you can solo travel. Oh my gosh, I didn't even talk about this in this episode. I think, you know what? I will just make a part 2. I will make a part 2 where I'll talk about the cafe crush, the alleged cracky soulmates, and I'll be talking about my solo travels. This is going to be the second episode. Okay, next week we're going to be talking about that. It has been decided. So, you can do all of that, but at the end of the day, you bring yourself everywhere, And at the end of the day, you can go to therapy all you want. Your therapist is only going to give you the tools. At the end of the day, you have to use those tools yourself to help you heal. I don't like the word to fix you, because you are a divine, beautiful soul, and no matter the flaws you have, you are perfect. You can improve. You will improve. And it's going to be amazing. But your imperfection is sacred, is what I'm trying to say. And throughout all this time, I just realized, yes, I am my own guidebook, because I have a story that is so divinely, spiritually, uniquely niche that I know no one that can relate to my story. And if I'm lucky, at some point in life, I will meet people that share similarities with the story that I have, because it is a very unique thing I went through. It is a very out of the norm trauma that I experienced, and it is a very, I just, you know what I mean. It's just, I feel like that is what's making it even harder sometimes for me, and makes me feel even more lonely, is because my loved ones don't really understand it, For example, like when you are in a secure relationship with somebody that hasn't really been through what you have been through, they will lack the tools to understand you deeply. But I also think that it is important to not let that make you feel like your partner has to have run through trauma as well. Because for me, where I'm at right now is like, the more people that I get to meet that are secure, that didn't go through trauma like I did, that didn't go through what I did, the more I learn about how a secure person operates through life. And the more I study that, the more I embody that, My closest people in life, they had their package their burden to bear as well. But a lot of them still know how to operate as a normal person, quote unquote. And I realized, like, thank you, God, for showing me the experience up close of what it is to be a normal human being who wasn't deeply traumatized, who didn't have to, like, figure out how to live normally again. Because I'm learning so much from that. So my biggest advice to you for this episode would be, if you went through crazy shit in life, it is so important to have a balance of people who get you, who totally understand you, but it is also so important to have people in your life who don't relate to you at all. Obviously, they shouldn't be assholes. Obviously, they should still support you. It is so important. Everybody should support you. Every close people in your life should support you. But it is important to have people in your life that weren't traumatized. You know, for me, for example, it's very important for me to, like, especially like have men in my life, like knowing men in my life that are secure, that aren't going around traumatizing other people, that aren't like crazy narcissistic men, you know? For me, it is so important to study those type of men, to know what it feels like to be appreciated and loved by a man that is secure. So this is something so sacred and important. And I will make a future episode about this probably as well. But get together with people who are secure, who cannot relate to the deep trauma you have, who are going to show you a quote-unquote normal world, how they operate, how secure they are, how stable they are. You need to see that. You need both balances. You need both versions. You need the people that can relate to you because they also went through their trauma and they came out on top with so much beauty like you. But you also need people who are just secure, well, just living a fucking normal life. Anyway, I think that's all I had to say for this episode. We've been talking for a hot minute now. If you relate to this, feel free to comment on whether you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. I love reading your comments. I love connecting with you guys. I'm always so happy when I see comments. It makes my day. I'm just so grateful to know that people are watching. People are tuning in every Thursday. Like, it just means so much to me. So it's obviously an open invitation. Nothing needs to feel forced. But if you do decide to come around, I will welcome you with open arms and express my gratitude. So thank you for all your love. And if you would like to know other ways to support me, check out my website at 12charms.com, where I offer energy readings, tarot readings, and obviously my necklaces. I am wearing the Chain of Love today because it felt very fitting for this topic. Has a lot of rose quartz and obviously also tiger's eye. Okay, so yeah, check that out. I'm also gonna be working on a new drop soon, which I'm also excited about because I haven't been focusing on making jewelry these past 2 to 3 weeks, as I would say, because I'm just very focused on like filming right now and filming like content and stuff and planning content. But once all of that is finished, I'll get back to making jewelry. So I was also thinking about like taking custom requests or something. So, you know, if you would like a custom necklace by me, just keep your eyes open or feel free to DM me anytime. Anytime. My DMs are open on Instagram at henrywrose. My new account, which is basically my main account now. I post every day. And like diary entries, spiritual stuff, like my thoughts. Like I'm gonna treat this account like a fucking diary. It's gonna be very personal. It's gonna be very like juicy. Okay, so feel free to stop by there, to DM me there. I will read everything. I will answer to everything. Anyway, was there anything else? I don't think so. I love you. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.